What is up, YouTube, and welcome to my latest series that I am extremely excited about, and it is called Thinking Thoughts. The premise of this series is going to be me laying out all the random thoughts I have throughout the day and I jot down. I spend a lot of time by myself just thinking. I love thinking of just random stuff. Sometimes it's stupid stuff, sometimes it's philosophical stuff. And who knows, you guys may be having the same thoughts. So I'm going to lay them out and just kind of analyze them and, just talk about it and see where I get with it. So let's get started. The first thought that I'm going to be analyzing is the concept of quality in pictures and quality in our own vision. And what I mean by that is, how come sometimes there's pictures that we can see and it looks like better quality than our own vision of what we see? Now, to me, I know there's probably some sort of scientific explanation for this, but I feel like the best we should be able to see is just our natural vision looking at people. I feel like I should be able to see someone more clearly than a picture of them. Now, if that doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't make sense to me either. What I'm trying to say is that, have you ever seen a picture of someone where you can see all of their pores and it's just so crystal clear? It's crazy. And it seems almost better than your own vision. Well, how can that be? I spent a lot of time thinking about this last night and today, and I just don't have an answer. How is it possible for our eyes to see an image that is more clear than what we originally see? Now, I know I probably sound stupid to some of you science people out there, but I have not been able to wrap my head around it yet. So, if you have an explanation for this, comment it down below. And if you don't understand what I just said, me neither. Basically, the premise of what I'm saying is, how can a camera take a picture with a higher quality than what we originally see with our vision, but then we see that higher quality in the picture? Yeah, it's confusing. My next thought that I've always had a lot of trouble putting into words is the idea that I can see from my perspective and only my perspective, and I had the option of billions, trillions of different things that I could have been. Now, I know you're saying, what does that mean? What did you just say? Well, basically, I've always found it very interesting that I am who I am and that I've lived my life starting in 2001 and nowhere prior to that, and who knows what happens after. So it's just weird to think, that there was time before us, try to comprehend a world without you in it. And that you weren't born in 1920 or in 1740 or when the dinosaurs were here, that you weren't a dinosaur, that you aren't a plant. Who knows? Maybe plants have some sort of consciousness. Consciousness. Who knows? I just always found it very interesting that there's been so many options of what I could have been, or what perspective I could have seen from, or where I could have lived, or what I could have lived through, and that I am where I am. Is there a reason for it? And I've always had that idea. Obviously, I don't believe it, but it's interesting to think maybe everyone around us and everything around us is made up in our head and is not real. Now, you're probably saying, what does that mean too? I don't know. These are the thoughts that I have. Another thought that I have all the time is the fact that we can make a random noise in a random order or whatever, just say random letters back to back, and you can almost guarantee that you're the first person to ever say that. So right now, if I just say, I'm probably the first person that's ever said that ever, and you just witnessed it. Mark it down. That's another one of those just silly things, but I think about it all the time. You're the first to do something. Another thought that I have is that tater tots sounds like it could have been another name for seesaw. Wait. Oh, teeter. Is teeter tot? Teeter totter. Is that an actual thing for seesaw? I don't know. I was thinking of tater tots. I'm like, that sounds like it could have been another name for seesaw. Let me look it up. Other names for seesaws. A seesaw, also known as a teeter-totter or a teeter-board. That's why I was thinking about it. I knew there was a reason behind it. Now that we got that cleared up, why do shower farts smell so much worse than normal farts? Now, I know I can't be the only one who's noticed this because it's an extreme difference. It's a stench matched by no other. And if you haven't, then I guess you're full of rainbows and sunshine because it's bad. Okay, now on to a more serious thought. There's got to be a way to connect thoughts the same way that we do with Wi-Fi. A wireless connection is connected through the air from electronic devices, why is there not a way that we can do it through ourselves? I feel like that's something that should be discovered by now. Our thoughts are physical things happening in our brain and sending signals in our head that is allowing us to have these thoughts. So there's got to be a way to send these thoughts outside of our head and move it to somebody else and connect it to their brain. Now, I know it sounds pretty sci-fi, but I feel like with the technology that we have, it doesn't seem too out of reach of something that we should be able to do. Now, trying to wrap my head around how that would be done, I have no idea. It just feels like someone should have figured it out by now. I've also been thinking about the concept of good and bad, and how it's purely subjective, and it's interesting how we can put a definition to them. Now, the definition of good is to be desired or approved of, and the definition of bad is of poor quality or a low standard, or also kind of the opposite of good, not such as to be hoped for or desired, unpleasant or unwelcome. Now, these are pretty broad ideas when it comes to each person as an individual. Now, the majority of people, including myself, thinks it's bad to hurt someone. If you go up and punch someone in the face, that's wrong to most people. But there's some people out there that believe that's okay and that's what's good. So it's hard to put actual definition to these words when it can be perceived differently by different people. There's psychopaths out there, or to us, they're psychopaths because they have these radical beliefs of things that they should do, like people in cults or serial killers. Like to us, normal people like us, you can't even say normal either because what is normal? But to the average person, these are really bad things that should be punished. I don't know exactly where I'm going with this, but what I'm saying is it's hard to put a definition to words that are purely subjective based on who is thinking about it. I know I probably sound crazy because I don't know if I'm making any sense because I know what I'm trying to say in my head, but I hope you guys are catching the drift. Again, basically what I'm trying to say is how do you put a definition to a word that is differently perceived by different individuals? I don't know. It's confusing. Again, these are the random thoughts I have during the day. Another thought that I had a while ago is if a self-driving car runs somebody over, who gets charged with the crime? Is it the person that owns the car or the person that made the car because their product is faulty? Now, I know it's probably somewhere in the fine print when you sign for these cars, and I'm sure it's the owner's fault. But I wonder if there is a way to turn it around on the company and actually have them sued or have them charged with the crime. Okay, so Google says, at this stage of self-driving technology, the driver is still generally responsible for any accidents that occur while he or she is behind the wheel. While they're behind the wheel. What if they're not behind the wheel? Is there a law where they have to be behind the wheel? Because I know there's some self-driving vehicles that don't need anybody. Now, I feel like that's where fine print comes in, because it says specifically if he or she is behind the wheel. Now, if they're not behind the wheel, who takes responsibility? May have to think more on that one. Now, this is a thought that goes out to Apple. So if anyone that works at Apple is somehow watching, can you take this into consideration? If you double tap the space bar on the keyboard, it adds a period. I think if you triple tap it, it should add a question mark. And maybe if you quadruple tap it, it'll add an exclamation mark. I don't know. I just think these things should be added because it would just make typing a lot easier. Now, this is something I wrote down and I have no idea what I was going for. So I'll let you decipher it. I'm going to read it exactly as I wrote it. Another early alarm, another snooze, a longer snooze, a shorter day, maybe tomorrow, ... Probably not. I don't know. Now, this is a thought I had when I was younger, but I still have now because it makes sense. So basically, what I was thinking was that people aren't scared of the dark because they're scared of the actual darkness itself or what's in the dark, but I think it's because our own mind is tricking us into thinking something bad is in there. Now, I know that kind of ties to what's in the dark, but what I'm saying is when I was a kid, I used to stare into the darkness and basically force myself to see something scary because it freaked me out. I didn't do it on purpose, but it was like my mind was tricking itself. Now, I don't know if you guys would do the same thing, but sometimes you would know that there's a jacket on a chair or something, but when you're looking at it, it looks like there's a ghost there, or it looks like there's someone there in the room, and it freaks you out. Now, I don't think this is a natural thought. I think this is taught to us as we grow up, as we watch horror movies and we read horror stories, because we're taught that most bad things happen in the dark in those, and most scary things happen in the dark and are seen in the dark or lurking in the dark. Now, if we had grown up with the stories that in the darkness there's bunnies ready to cuddle and puppies being born and unicorns shooting rainbows everywhere, the darkness wouldn't be scary at all. At 19 years old, I still turn off the light in the basement and sprint up the stairs. Logically, I know there's nothing down there going to get me, but my mind is telling me otherwise. I know I'm not alone here. Alright guys, those were my thoughts for the day. I hope you enjoyed listening and maybe you even had some of those thoughts yourself. Or maybe I even put some of these thoughts in your head. Comment down below what you think about what I said. If you have your own crazy thoughts that you want me to talk about, then you can message me on Twitter or Instagram and tell me your thoughts. I have maybe like 8 followers on Twitter right now, so I'd like to be more active on there. I want you guys to tweet me. I don't know how Twitter works really, but tweet me your crazy thoughts and I'm going to look them over, and if I really like something, it might even end up in the video, and I'm obviously going to give you credit for your thought. But you can also message me on Instagram. I check all my messages, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to check out some other random videos I make, I also post on TikTok very often, so you can follow me on there at Grims and Chin. I hope everyone has a fantastic morning, afternoon, night, or whatever time it is for you. And until next time, keep thinking thoughts. Chin out.
Not normal, we not average. Lot of money, that's what turned me to a savage. Yeah, she singing while I hit it, that's an ad-lib. Flip a pack and then I turn it to a package. Let me hit it on the beach, waves crashing. Lot of vibes being made, that's what happened.